Brian, can I ask you something a little personal?
Of course. What is on your mind, Jessica?
Have you ever said sorry in English and felt like it just did not come out right? Like, you knew you wanted to apologize, but the words felt awkward or too formal?
Oh, absolutely. I remember apologizing to a colleague once and using completely the wrong phrase. It came out sounding so stiff and unnatural. She gave me the strangest look.
That is so relatable. Oh, hello, everyone. Welcome back to Talk English Freely. I am Jessica, and this is Brian. We are so glad you joined us today.
It is wonderful to have you here.
Today, we're talking about apologizing in English. It sounds simple, but saying sorry the right way is actually a real skill. The wrong phrase at the wrong moment can make things worse instead of better. If you enjoy our conversations, please subscribe and give us a like. It really helps us so much.
It means the world to us. Now, let us get into it.
Okay, Brian, let's start with the basics. What is the most common way to apologize in English?
Well, the most basic one is simply, "I'm sorry." It is short, clear, and works in almost any situation. But the way you say it matters just as much as the words. If you say it quickly or flatly, it can sound like you do not really mean it. A genuine "I'm sorry" with eye contact and a soft tone goes a very long way.
So true. And there are so many variations depending on the situation. "I am so sorry" adds more emotion and sincerity. "I am really sorry" feels warm and personal. And "I am terribly sorry" sounds more formal, like something you might say to a customer or a stranger.
Right. The level of formality really matters. In casual situations with friends, sorry, its own is often enough. But in professional settings or when something more serious has happened, you want to be more careful with your words. A simple "sorry" to your boss for a big mistake might actually come across as dismissive.
Exactly right. In those cases, you want to say something fuller like, "I sincerely apologize for the misunderstanding," or "I want to apologize for the delay." Those phrases show that you are taking the situation seriously. And Brian, what about when you bump into someone on the street? What do people usually say?
In casual everyday situations, "sorry" or "oh, sorry" is the most natural. You might also hear "excuse me" or "pardon me," which are used when you bump into someone or need to get past them. "Oops, sorry about that" is also very common and friendly. These are quick, light apologies that do not require a big response.
Right. And it is interesting because in English, people apologize a lot for very small things. Like if someone almost bumps into you, both people often say sorry at the same time, even if neither of them was really at fault. It is just a social habit that keeps things friendly and smooth.
That is such a good observation. English speakers, especially British and American ones, tend to apologize quite frequently. It is a way of showing that you are considerate and aware of others. So do not be surprised if someone apologizes to you for something very small. It is just a cultural habit.
For sure. Brian, what about when you want to apologize but also explain what happened? How do you do that without sounding like you're making excuses?
That is a really important balance to get right. The key is to lead with the apology and then add the explanation. For example, "I am sorry I missed the meeting. There was an unexpected issue I had to deal with. I should have let you know sooner." Notice how the apology comes first, and the explanation follows without removing the responsibility.
That is such a great structure. If you flip it and put the explanation first, it can sound like you are making excuses. Like there was a lot of traffic, so that is why I was late, sorry. That sounds defensive. But "I am so sorry I was late. There was a lot of traffic and I should have left earlier" sounds genuine.
Exactly. Taking responsibility is the key part of a real apology. Phrases like "I should have," "I did not think about," and "I realize now that" all show that you understand what went wrong. They make the other person feel heard and respected.
Right. And Brian, what about accepting an apology? Sometimes people focus so much on how to apologize that they forget how to respond when someone says sorry to them.
Great point. The most common responses are, "that is okay," "do not worry about it," and no problem. These tell the other person that you accept their apology and that things are fine. It is all good, is more casual and very natural among friends. And, I appreciate you saying that, is a warmer, more heartfelt response when the apology really meant something to you.
I love that one. I appreciate you saying that acknowledges that the apology mattered without making a big deal of it. And sometimes, just saying thank you for apologizing is really powerful. It shows you are taking the other person's efforts seriously.
And it is worth knowing that sometimes people are not ready to accept an apology right away. That is completely normal. If someone says, I need a little time, that is okay. A good apology does not demand an immediate response. It gives the other person space to process their feelings.
That is such a mature and important point. Forcing someone to say it is okay immediately after a big apology is not fair. Sometimes the best thing you can do after saying sorry is just give the other person time and space.
Right. An apology is something you give. It is not something you give in order to get something back right away.
I love that way of thinking about it. Brian, let's talk about apologizing at work. That is a situation a lot of English learners are nervous about.
Workplace apologies need to be professional and clear. If you made a mistake on a project, you might say, I want to apologize for the error in the report. I take full responsibility and I am already working on correcting it. That kind of apology is strong because it acknowledges the mistake and shows action.
Right. And it is also good to add what you will do differently next time. Something like, I will double-check everything before submitting going forward. That shows the apology is not just words, but a real commitment to doing better.
That is what separates a strong apology from a weak one. Weak apology just says, sorry. A strong apology says, sorry. Here is what happened. Here is what I am doing about it. And here is how I will prevent it in the future.
So well said. And Brian, what about written apologies? Like apology emails or messages?
Written apologies are very common in professional settings. They give you time to think carefully about what you want to say. A good apology email usually starts with something like, I am writing to sincerely apologize for. Then you explain the situation briefly, take responsibility, and explain how you plan to fix things. Always end with something warm, like, thank you for your patience and understanding.
That is a great formula. And one thing I always tell people is to keep apology emails short and focused. Do not write 3 paragraphs explaining why something happened. A concise, sincere apology is always more powerful than a long, complicated one.
So true. The longer the email, the more it can feel like you are defending yourself rather than apologizing. Short, clear, and genuine is always the way to go.
For sure. And Brian, what are some phrases people should avoid when apologizing?
Great question. The biggest one to avoid is, I am sorry you feel that way. This sounds like an apology, but it is actually not one. It puts the blame on the other person's feelings, rather than taking responsibility.
Oh, that one is so tricky. It sounds polite on the surface, but it can actually make people feel worse. Another one to avoid is, I am sorry, but, because the word but cancels out everything before it. I am sorry, but you should not have done that either, is not really an apology at all.
So right. But, after an apology is almost always a red flag. Real apologies do not come with conditions. Another phrase to be careful with is, I am sorry if I offended you. The word if makes it sound like you are not sure whether you did anything wrong. A stronger version would be, I'm sorry that I offended you.
That is such a subtle but important difference. If versus that completely changes the meaning. If sounds uncertain and a little dismissive. That shows you know what happened, and you are owning it.
Language is so powerful. Even one small word can change everything.
It really can. Brian, any final tips for someone who wants to apologize more naturally in English?
My biggest tip is to be specific. Instead of just, I am sorry, say, I'm sorry for interrupting you during the meeting. Specificity shows that you really thought about what you did and why it matters. and say it sooner rather than later. A delayed apology can feel less genuine, even if you truly mean it.
And I would add, say it simply and sincerely. You do not need fancy vocabulary to give a great apology. I am really sorry. I should have handled that better is powerful because it is honest and clear. The best apologies come from the heart, not from a dictionary.
Beautifully said. Sincerity is everything.
Brian, I also want to talk about apologizing in different relationships. Like, the way you say sorry to your best friend is very different from how you apologize to your boss. Can you walk me through some examples?
Sure, with close friends, apologies tend to be very casual and direct. You might say, "Hey, I am really sorry about last night. I should not have said that." It is simple, honest, and gets straight to the point. With friends, a long formal apology can actually feel a little strange.
Right. And sometimes with close friends, a heartfelt apology followed by something light, like, "Can I make it up to you with coffee?" can really help ease the tension. It shows you want to move forward together, not just dwell on what went wrong.
That is such a natural way to handle it. With a boss or someone senior at work, the tone needs to be more measured. You want to be clear and professional without being overly dramatic. "I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience this has caused. I am taking steps to make sure this does not happen again." That kind of language shows maturity and accountability.
And what about apologizing to a customer or someone you do not know well?
In those situations, formality is really important. Phrases like, "We sincerely apologize for any inconvenience, please accept our apologies," and "I apologize for the confusion" are all very standard. They sound professional and respectful. You would hear these in customer service emails, shop assistants talking to unhappy customers, and service industries in general.
That is so useful. I think a lot of English learners only know "I am sorry" and they use it in every single situation. But knowing which phrase fits which context makes such a big difference. It is one of those things that makes you sound truly fluent.
Absolutely. Fluency is not just about grammar. It is about knowing how language works in real social situations, and apologies are one of the most socially important speech acts in any language.
So well said. Brian, what about when you need to apologize, but you feel like the other person was also partly at fault? That is a situation a lot of people find really difficult.
It is one of the trickiest situations in communication. The temptation is to bring up what the other person did wrong while you are apologizing, but that usually makes things worse. The best approach is to apologize for your part first, fully and without conditions. Then, once the other person feels heard and the atmosphere has calmed down, you can have a separate conversation about what they could have done differently.
That makes so much sense. Mixing an apology with a complaint sends such a mixed message. The other person ends up feeling defensive instead of grateful. Separating the two conversations is much more effective, even if it feels harder in the moment.
Right. It takes a lot of emotional intelligence to do that, but it leads to much better outcomes. And in the long run, people respect you more for it.
For sure. And Brian, what about cultural differences in apologizing? Is the way English speakers apologize different from other cultures?
It can be quite different, yes. In many English-speaking cultures, a verbal apology is expected and valued. Saying sorry directly and clearly is seen as a sign of respect and honesty. In some other cultures, apologies might be expressed more through actions than words, or the expectation of who should apologize first might be different.
Right. And for English learners, sometimes their own cultural background affects how they apologize in English. They might feel that saying sorry too much shows weakness, or they might not realize that not saying sorry enough can come across as rude. It is really worth being aware of those differences.
And the good news is, once you know the phrases and the expectations, it becomes much more natural. Practice is everything. The more you use these phrases in real situations, the more comfortable they feel.
Totally. And it is okay to make mistakes along the way. Even native speakers sometimes struggle to find the right words when they need to apologize. It is not easy for anyone in any language.
That is such a comforting reminder. We are all human, and we all have moments when we say the wrong thing. What matters is that you are willing to recognize it and make it right.
And that brings us to the end of today's conversation. Thank you so much for being here with us, everyone. We hope this helped you feel more confident about apologizing in English.
Remember, a good apology takes courage. The right words, said sincerely, can repair and strengthen any relationship.
We would love to hear from you. Have you ever had a tricky situation where you needed to apologize in English? Leave a comment below and tell us your story.
And if you enjoyed today's conversation, please give us a like and subscribe to Talk English Freely. Your support keeps us going.
See you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.